In this exercise, we're going to use the constructor function that we created in the last exercise to create two address objects. So here's the first object. I'm going to call this address1. Now, I'm going to duplicate this line to create another address, but we're going to call this address2. Now, in this exercise, I want you to create two functions. One is called r=, so we pass two address objects, address1 and address2, and we check to see if these two objects are equal. Now, as I told you before, objects are reference types, so we can have two objects with the exact same properties, but these objects are in different memory locations. So when we use the equality operator, we're essentially checking to see if these objects have the same reference. Now, to properly check to see if two objects are equal, we need to check their properties. We need to make sure that all their properties are equal. So that's the job of this function, r=. If all the properties of these two objects are equal, this function should return true, otherwise it should return false. Now the other function I want you to write is r_same, address1 and address2. And this function simply tells us if address1 and address2 are pointing to the exact same object. In other words, they're referencing the same object. So go ahead and implement these two functions. When you're done, come back, continue watching. All right, I'm going to start by implementing the second function because that's easier. So to check to see if two variables are referencing the same object, use the strict equality operator. So return address1 equals address2. So if they are referencing the same object, we'll return true, otherwise we'll return false. Now with the other function, we need to check individual properties. So here we need to return a Boolean that is the result of evaluation of three conditional statements. So address1 dot street should be equal to address2 dot street. Here we use the logical AND. Next we add address1 dot city. This should also equal address2 dot city. Once again, we use the logical AND, and finally address1 dot zip code should equal address2 dot zip code. Now let's call these functions and see the results. So I'm going to do a console.log, call r=, pass address1 and address2, and then I'm going to duplicate this and change r= to r_same. Save the changes. All right, I made a mistake here, so here we should use address2. Save the changes. So you can see these two objects are equal, their individual properties are equal, but they are not the same objects. There are two different objects in memory. In contrast, if we declare another variable here, let's say address3, and we set that to address1. Now both these variables are pointing or referencing the same object in memory. So if we call r_same and pass address1 and address3, we're going to get true because they're pointing to the same object in memory. In the next exercise, we're going to work with blog post objects.